All right, we're going to get started. Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, April 14th. It's Holy Week for some. It's almost Passover for others. It's already deep into Ramadan for others as well. And so as we come together, uh, we love to share who we are as a council here in the East Bay. And I think we have some minutes we need to get approved. Dennis?
Yes. Good morning. My name is Dennis Wasco, and I'm a co-chair for the SOJA, the Social Justice Alliance. And certainly want to give a warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for attending. And we hope that this meeting will be inspirational for you and informational. So it's a wonderful time of the year, as Will has said. We're celebrating all sorts of different, in our faith traditions, different times of sacredness, and so it's Ramadan for the Muslims, and Passover for the people of Jewish faith, and Easter for Christians, and Ridvan for Baha'i, and Hindu New Year. So we have all sorts of things to be celebrating, and it's definitely a holy and sacred time. So with that, let us begin our meeting, and we'll begin with first the approval of the March 10th minutes. And so could I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I move we approve the minutes.
Thank you, Diane. And
second.
Who would second?
Second.
Dave second them. So all those in favor of the approval of the minutes for the March 10th meeting, just raise your hand or vote verbally. Thank you. So the minutes are approved. And now Reverend will read the opening statement on land acknowledgement. Will, are you there?
Yes, let's get this going. Here we go. Now it's working for me. So as we acknowledge the lands on which we work, serve, and play upon, let us remember the first inhabitants of these lands. Acknowledging the Contra Costa is also the ancestral homes of the Bay Miwok, Ohlone, and Tachiyokits people, with each group having their own relationship with the highest peak that the colonizers called Mount D. Acknowledging this past, we also want to work towards racial justice now and for the future in the way we as people live on the land, which includes revisioning the way that we see our place in the world. We must also acknowledge that this country was built on the free enslaved labor of Black people, and that labor was violently enforced for hundreds of years. Let's honor the legacy of the African diaspora and Black life, knowledge and skills stolen due to white supremacy. As Californians, we must also remember our history of welcoming Chinese labor when we wanted low-wage workers to build the railroad, but our state and federal government turned our back on them with the Chinese Exclusion Act when the railroads were completed. We also must keep in our memory that just a few generations ago, we subjected all Japanese Americans to internment during World War II, allowing others to steal all of their belongings in most places. With this acknowledgement, let us recognize the duty to give honor through our work and continue to stand up for racial and social justice every day.
Thank you, Reverend Will. That's a powerful statement. And we're going to have the reading of the covenant, and Reverend Alexandria and Jan Warren will be reading that.
I foresee covenant. In solidarity with one another, we each affirm. Our dialogue is an interfaith dialogue. We all have different communication styles and varying views. We commit to be in dialogue with respect for all expanding listening to hear multiple points of view. We realize that we are responsible for the growth of I4C, and each of us shares a duty to interfaith growth. The governing board provides leadership, and the elected council works towards progress and the fulfillment of I4C goals as we grow.
We recognize that we are imbued with interfaith responsibility. As such, we commit to hold ourselves and each other accountable to merit that trust, respect for the diverse traditions, beliefs, and spiritual paths of all those we encounter, hold ourselves to the highest ethical standards, and accountable to our communities and to the I4C. Our shared time together is interfaith time. We commit to honoring the start and end times each time we meet.
Thank you. And so we'll move on.
I don't think Ben is here, or is, oh, yes, he is. He's here.
Okay. The opening faith reflection will be given by Ben Jones, who was with the Baha'i Faith. Ben?
We can't hear you, Ben. Can you unmute for us?
I'm afraid this was kind of a surprise to me. But I can reflect that we are entering, or we're coming up on the Festival of Rizvan. And back in the early days in 1862, there was the time when Baha'u'llah was being exiled from Baghdad, and on his way out of the city, he held a great festival, the 8 days of Rizvan, and I'm sorry, the 12 days of Rizvan, and this was the day when he announced his mission, and he revealed that he was the promised one who was to start this new faith and basically bring together all the faiths of the world. So it's a very our most important festival, and it's coming up. Let's see. For me, my introduction to the Baha'i Faith was on the earlier introduction when the Bab actually announced his mission. Which is May 23rd, which is also kind of coming up, and that's called the Declaration of the Bab, and that's when he announced that he was the one who was to start this process. And that's I'm particularly fond of that day because it was the day that I actually discovered the Baha'i Faith in Wilmette, Illinois. So I was just a tourist, and I wandered into the Baha'i house, the Baha'i house of worship there, and discovered that the basic beliefs of the faith were written on the wall, and I read them all, and they were like these principles, and I thought, wow, I already believe this. These are all like sort of obvious, like the equality of all people, the equality of men and women, the harmony of science and religion. Everybody's responsible for his own spiritual growth, and there are no clerics, and work as a form of worship, and all these principles. And I thought, wow, this sounds really interesting. I think I need to look into this. And so that was how I got started, and it took me a while to actually dedicate myself to it, but I finally did. So I guess that would be my reflection on the coming days.
Thank you, Ben. That's a very personal reflection and very well put. Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is the community presentation on the housing element in Walnut Creek. And Jan Warren, who is a member of the SOJA Alliance, is going to give us a few words in regard to that. So, Jan?
Thanks, Dennis. I just wanted to take a few minutes. I don't know if there's anyone on this call today that is a member of a congregation in Walnut Creek, but if so, I just wanted the opportunity, and I thank Will for that, to reach out, and I'll put a couple of links in the chat. Oops, sorry about that. And all of the Bay Area right now is going through an updating of their housing plans. That's a state law requirement. And so we need as many people in all the cities, but I live in Walnut Creek, and I told the consultant I'd reach out to y'all and invite you to participate. They have 2 surveys, one on your thoughts about what kind of housing you want, and they also have a survey on safety element and what your thoughts are about how we might make our communities more safe. And there's also an upcoming meeting. And so that's all I wanted to do. And I'll put some info in the chat, and hope if you're in another city, you will go out to your city websites and find out what's going on. They're all doing it.
And Jan, can you share briefly some of the work you do as chair of the Multi-Faith Action Housing and Shelter Task Force, so that folks know?
I'm not set up for that today. You know, I'll talk too much. Let me just do my ICAN, and I'll come back another time for that. Because I'll just wander off if I don't have a written script. Take more than 2 minutes.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Jan?
Yeah, and there's also EBHO is also leading workshops to help us guide us, see what sort of East Bay Housing Organization, just ebho.org, helping us to know what to look for to make sure that the plans are really lifting up our faith values in terms of all types of housing, and not just in one poor section of your town, and moving away from what we've had in many of our towns on the redlining and so forth, to break all that up. You know, we want everyone to be neighborly to everybody. And so anyhow, I'll put these.
Okay, thank you, Jan.
Sure.
We'll hear from you a little later about
Okay.
ICAN. Okay. Okay, questions around the in-person meetings. And I don't know if
I can speak to that.
Okay, go ahead, Will.
Thank you. We just get it up here. We did a poll with everyone at our last meeting about when we should be meeting. And one of the things that came back to us was that we should, folks are ready to try quarterly. So our first attempt at quarterly hybrid meetings will be June. If you're still immunocompromised and you feel like it would be unsafe for you to be there, we're going to try and have a Zoom option for it, but we don't. We're still trying to figure what that will look like and how we'll be able to be set up in a way that we can make sure that everyone can be heard, both online and in our person. So we'll be trying for June. Keep an eye on the agenda or the email because if things change with what's going on in the Northeast, even by then, who knows where we'll be with the next surge or not, but that's kind of where we are.
Okay, thanks, Will. And now we'll kind of have a community report highlight for April. And all of the reports are in your agenda. So please be sure to read that. So each meeting we're going to highlight different groups. And this time it's SOJA and ICAN. So Jan, can you give us an update on ICAN?
Just muted myself. So I'm
back
going to
on.
unmute again. An update. Well, to begin with, I'm a member of Lafayette Christian Church, and I live in Walnut Creek. And the Interfaith Climate Action Network of Contra Costa County, we function and operate under the Social Justice Alliance of the Interfaith Council. We're a working group of the California Interfaith Power and Light, and we meet quarterly with folks from 5 other California Interfaith Power and Light groups in Northern California. And we lobby with them in Sacramento in the months of June and August. Our legislation is primarily focused on, with CIPL, on the state bills, and we also meet locally with our legislative officials. We actually formed in, hard to believe, September of 2014. People always like to have faith group representations on all topics, and so there wasn't one at the time, and so we formed one. We basically network and have coalitions with environmental justice partners. We're not just about, although we believe in caring for the earth and all that our faith teaches us, our focus has been on environmental justice. We meet once a month on Mondays at 2 p.m. on Zoom, and our group is composed of people of faith who lead either a green or a climate justice group in their own congregations, or they're simply interested in and don't have any such group to meet with. And so they meet with us. We also have members from Sustainable Contra Costa, Sustainable Walnut Creek, 350 Contra Costa, Citizens Climate Lobby, Mount Diablo Peace and Justice, a couple of pastors, and people who are not members of any particular faith congregation. So we're very open to everyone because the earth belongs to all of us, needs all of our care. We primarily focus on education, advocacy, and action through the lens of environmental justice, and we partner with other organizations who also have an environmental justice lens. We are not a silo one topic focus organization. Sometimes the folks that join us are, and then they participate with us in the things that, we kind of share what's going on with the other groups, but we're always open to other people joining us. We recently supported and attended the Climate Youth March in Antioch. We have almost from the beginning worked with organizations regarding pollution and health impacts from the refineries, because we have so many, 4 refineries in our county, and there's one across the water in Vallejo. There are regular meetings with our air district, which is a Bay Area Air Quality Management District, and other coalition groups like Sunflower Alliance, who has taken the lead on working to ban oil and gas drilling in East Contra Costa. We worked with a group for 2 years to make sure the tar sands didn't come into the Carquinez Strait to a couple of our refineries. And so sometimes we have one-time campaigns for that, and then sometimes we have ongoing campaigns. When there was a successful new transition group, when that was successful, we also have joined about, maybe a year and a half ago, a subgroup working on just transition. And we need to move to clean energy. And we want to make sure our communities and the revenues generated and the jobs generated have just transitions. But we work on a lot of things. We work on building decarbonization, removing gas appliances that leak methane. And methane is the real name. Natural gas is really methane, and it has a high greenhouse gas component. We've learned about heat pumps and induction ovens, solar and EV cars and charging stations, and we've helped congregations green their buildings. We have worked for the past 2 years on the update of the county action plans to reduce greenhouse gases and the update of the county general plan and Vision 24. We work on we have two refineries that are transitioning to biofuels, and we have worked on their draft environmental and final environmental, and now upcoming their appeals. So hydrogen topic is big now, and whatever comes along, we find out about it and engage in areas that we think are greenwashing, if you will. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. It's an evolving group and topics. We've done films and webinars and all sorts of things, marched and protested, and so there's something for everybody. And we just want the I4C members to know that we're out there. And if you have someone in your group who would like to just visit, I'll put my or learn more, I'll put my contact info in the chat. Anybody has any questions? I'm open to those.
Any questions for Jan?
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, first, Jan, thank you for that wonderful report. You're doing an awfully lot, so that's wonderful. Are you the chair of the committee?
Oh, I'm sorry, I am.
And could you comment about the committee? You mentioned there are a lot of people involved. How many people normally attend the meeting, and kind of what does the agenda look like? Are you just covering all the things that you're involved with?
We typically, there's generally about maybe 12 that attend a meeting on average. It depends on what's like now we've got the Earth Day coming up, and so we'll highlight Earth Day events. So if events are happening, we have groups that put on Green Sofas series. We give updates on what's going on with the Bakhmet Air District, and whatever people want, info that they want to offer because we network, and we're also a member of the Contra Costa County Climate Action Network. One of our members formed that. One of our members formed the 350 Contra Costa. So it depends on the month, but we always have a variety of things that are going on. And so whatever's pertinent at the time that we want to act on, we of course sign petitions and visit legislators. But it's a varied sort of agenda, and be happy to share one with somebody.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Any other questions for Jan?
Jan, what is one of the most recent ones that you felt were really important that we should know about? Maybe or your work with maybe the refineries, or something that you feel that it's dear to your heart, or something that you felt was really impactful?
Well, it was impactful when we kept the tar sands out, for sure. And it's biofuels have come up, and we've been working to educate on, is it really reducing emissions, or is it just a way for the refineries to keep on doing what they're doing? Because we do have major concerns, because it's going to be taking a lot of soy and other feedstock that people need to eat. So we're very concerned about the impact, both on the emissions and on prices of food. And so that's, we have an appeal coming up. We just got a notice last night, an appeal coming up in May to the Board of Supervisors on that. We'd like to see them go back. They didn't answer our questions, our concerns. So that's still a big one. The oil and gas drilling that for 60 years ago, it was a big oil and gas production out in East County that none of us knew about until somebody stumbled across a posting about this guy who wanted a new permit. We're like, what? Oil and gas drilling in East County? And so there's both Antioch and Brentwood have really stepped up to get bans going and ordinances and whatnot on that, because it turns out that some of these things were right. They were under people's houses. They were being vented in Brentwood. They were being vented up through some piping, or there was a lamp post that was really a venting for the methane in the neighborhood. And so because prices that are up on the fuel, they want to go back and they have new ways of getting more. They want to go back and reopen some of those. So we just don't. Those are two big things we're working on. Reverend Alexandria.
And now those wells are near schools and people well within
I mean, they're right under
schoolyards.
That's how they.
I lost her. She moved. Where'd she go?
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. You were in the
And
corner. Now you're over here.
I'm here and I'm shaking my head and knowing that this is all true and that's how it's set up and that's how it goes and shaking my head.
That's the system was set up for that. Yep.
Exactly.
Like they intended it.
And all the facial expressions I'm making are because I'm so excited to hear and learn that there are so many people involved in Contra Costa County. It's absolutely blowing my mind. And I'm very, very happy that there are hands on this. I have questions. I have a lot of questions. So I will just ask for your contact information. Mainly,
I put it in the and I'll put my phone too.
Thank you. Mainly, and I just want to tell you on the two topics, so you know ahead of time, the greening the church.
Yes, I'm familiar with Ambrose. I mean, I've met Ambrose.
Yes, as well as the climate youth walk. So I would not like to miss that. As a chaplain, a ministry of presence is my field. And so to be there and walk with youth would be something in any type of event is something that I am interested in.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions? Okay, just very quickly, I'd like to give the SOJA reports and some of the different things that we have been working on in the past month. A continuing issue is the Concord Naval Weapons Station, and the Sino Discovery, who now calls himself Concord First, has held 2 meetings with the public in which they've received information from the public and have given back to the public their plans and so on. And EBHO is working very closely with people in the city council to make sure that, again, the affordable housing and the homeless issues are taken care of in the final agreement. And we've gotten the assurance that will be the case, and we certainly want to continue to monitor that and make sure that is the case. They expect to have the final agreement on their plan sometime during the summer months. So again, we'll be watching closely for that. In regard to winter nights, currently there are 4 families and 8 guests in winter nights, and they're finding that the winter nights is more kind of a emergency type of placement for people, and then they move on to something else. So that's kind of changing a little bit, but of course they'll be having their summer hiatus here coming up, I believe, at the end of May. And so they'll be making plans for next year, and typically they're getting an awful lot of applications. In the last batch, they had 17 applications, and out of those, they chose three families. So there's a need, and they will continue to do that work. The big highlight is the parking program, and that is part of winter nights. And they have an average of 12 cars per night. And it's just been very successful, and no problems. And it's going to be a year-round program now. So that will continue. SOJA has been covering there's an anti-harassment ordinance, which is being studied by the subcommittee of the city council, and they're trying to work out the issues in regard to that, and that will be presented to the full council sometime in May, and hopefully it'll pass. Contra Costa is and also the Conscious Concord Coalition of Communities, of Concord Communities, sorry. They've been working very hard for the upcoming election, and the two main offices that will be filled are a county supervisor office and the DA. Our groups are essentially favoring Diane Becton for the district attorney, and I suppose you saw recently that the East Bay Times also came out in favor of her and endorsed her. And then Roxanne Garza is the person of choice for the supervisor's role. The Poor People's Campaign, they're working forward to a march in Washington, which will be taking place on the 18th of June. And they're mobilizing for that and making plans for that. That's pretty much in regard to SOJA. Obviously, an awful lot of things are going on. I mean, you just heard the things that Jan is doing herself, and there are several people who are doing the same type of things in other areas. So we're very active and we need new people too. We're always looking for new people. So if any of you or anybody in your congregation is interested in social justice issues, please let us know, and we'll certainly put you to work, and there's plenty to do. So thank you. Let's see. And now, Will, I guess we're on to the dialogue of the day.
Thank you. Let me pull it up here so that we can all see it as well. And then our dialogue topic is about this paper that Bishop William Swing wrote, Nakedness and Nukes. And we ask that you read the document so that we can answer these questions together. What does your faith, or how does your faith tradition address the threat of nuclear weapons during wartime? What is their published position? What jumps out for you from Bishop Swing's article? And what are some tangible things we can do in times when we may feel powerless to continue to build the beloved community? So that's our group. We're going to have 6 groups here today, and they're just we're all together here, so the buttons to join should be on there for you to be able to join.
Recording in progress.
Okay, Ronnie, did you guys get, Rebecca, did you need to be assigned to another group still?
Yes, please. My computer completely bumped me off of Zoom.
Let me get you to room 6 because they need more folks. So let me get you there.
Thanks.
I am the spokesperson, and our breakout group included Reverend Dale Weatherspoon, Jan Warren, Carolyn McKenzie, Greg Kamenliev, and myself. We had a very lively discussion. We chatted about how our different faith traditions think about weapons of mass destruction and nuclear war. None of the faith traditions, all the faith traditions, let me say it that way, were in favor of nuclear disarmament and no to nuclear war, absolute no to nuclear war. Jesus taught us how to live the abundant life. The capacity to destroy is the diametric opposite, abundant death. Latter-day Saints have a scripture that says, proclaim peace and renounce war. Buddhism is opposed to all harming of life. Carolyn McKenzie happens to serve on a URI committee with Bishop Swing, who wrote this piece that we are to read in advance. And she shared a bunch about what that committee is doing. That it's called the Cooperation Circle, and it's a high-powered group, has a couple hundred people on it. Many are senators and ambassadors, so she has really great exposure to some great thinking. They prepared some educational materials that are, help to educate both youth, young adults, and adults on nuclear weapons and how we can push for more, this disarmament of nuclear weapons. She shared a prayer for peace. I'll put some links to those materials in the chat, but they're wonderful resources. We had then sort of moved into a conversation about how our budgets are a statement of a budget is a moral document. And we spend a lot of money on nuclear weapons, including we're planning to spend $22 billion to modernize the US nuclear weapons fleet. So we have a lot to do to help move away from that kind of spending on weapons of mass destruction toward more peaceful means. And in terms of how do we promote peace, we live it in our actions and words. We need to be peace ourselves. Reverend Dale Weatherspoon mentioned that he thinks we need to teach more conflict resolutions in schools. And I love this idea that the youth need to see examples of adults forgiving one another. For example, family fights around the dinner table, and then subsequently see mom and dad apologize or relatives forgive each other. That's really important for youth to understand how to do reconciliation. So that was hopefully that wasn't too long. Sorry, I probably went a little long, but great conversation.
Great conversations this morning. Yes, room 2, Reza, Babak, Nasli, and me. Reza?
Yes, thank you, Reverend Will. In regard to the first part, all faiths object to nuclear armament expansion and increase. And then in regard to the article that we had, nakedness was a state of awareness that has been permanently disappeared. And when it disappears, you feel like godlike. And there was like 4 important moments of history within human mankind mentioned in the article of Bishop Swing. And at the end, he opens it up. What directions are we directing into the Armageddon or directions of Garden of Eden? So it's very important, that a place like here, Interfaith, we address all these and we be aware of what's going on and pursue that directions of Garden of Eden rather than armament and whatever else that is there to move in that direction. And the other part that reflects from his article is like feeling the reality of life and death. And that's kind of what I experience and everybody in our group experienced at the present, and it's very bitter. Since it's very bitter and ugly, usually human nature does not want to approach it, but that's the reality that the article reflects. And the last part, the best to do is to kind of stick to our spiritual practices And as Sufism teaches, is an inward directions to expand our ability and capability to stay hopeful, positive, and energetic within these extremely stressful conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Reza. Room 3 is Ben Jones, Celia Menzel, Reverend Alexandria, and Reverend Sharon. Who's your
Thank you. We also had extremely interesting and spirited discussion. We represented Baha'i, Jewish, and Christian through American Baptist and Presbyterian. Ben has posted an article about from the Baha'i, and all of us stated that our faiths have prohibited or stand firmly against nuclear weapons and proliferation. I found an article 2021 from the Presbyterian Church USA. They signed an interfaith statement supporting the Treaty of the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons that was adopted by the United Nations in 2017 and went into effect in January 21, with 86 countries signing, 55 ratifying, and 150 faith-based national organizations. We talked about the article and the challenges with that, within the traditions of thou shalt not kill. Where is love? The power, that power is an addiction, and how the Russian Orthodox Church has, the bishop has been complicit with what's going on in Ukraine, even though, as Bishop Swing said, 350 priests, Russian Orthodox priests, are in dissent and wondering what their fate is going to be, compared with, as so many others in the country in Russia have been silenced. With what can we do in the face of this? We talked about the same thing, our spiritual practices, being faithful to that, prayer, working with individuals one-on-one, helping to bring that in, and just faith and action. So just being responsible to live our faith and to have what the term we use in my practice is spiritual hygiene, and just be really faithful in that practice.
Thank you, Reverend Sharon. Reverend Dan is with us. He's going to give us our closer, but we've got a few more report backs from our small groups. Room 4, Room 5, and Room 6. Can you keep it to 1 minute each? Do we have one from Room 4? We'll also be getting these in writing back. So if we don't have them right now, we can get them later too. Room 5?
I can't remember who's in which group. I don't.
Oh yeah, you're Felicity. Room 4 is yours. If you want to say something for a minute on your
sure. Ronnie summarized it that what our beliefs are, our personal beliefs are essentially we all absolutely abhor nuclear weapons or war of any kind whatsoever. She was very passionate about that. And then we had, I'm not exactly sure what her faith tradition is. I presume it's Christian. And then we have Christine and Laura and myself. So two other Christian faith traditions. Christine's represent, I think her comment was in complete agreement with Bishop Swing, given they're both Episcopalian. And Laura said beautifully about, God gave us a brain to think as well and hands to act. That he's not going to do all of it. We must act ourselves. And that what we should do is listen. And we should listen with an and I would add with an open heart and open mind. In the pagan tradition is, and you harm none, and you harm none. And it has an enormous implications. We have no particular scripture to back that up, but no prescription, no scripture at all. But but essentially that love is what we need to do, and what we actively need to do. The next step is to come together with opposing opinions and really listen and hear each other out, and do it with a loving
that's
heart.
the hardness of that in a time of feeling powerlessness because of the role of nuclear weapons is the pinch, isn't it?
Yeah, that's I think that's the summary. I hope I've done us proud, Christine and Laura.
Thank you. Room 5, Amelia, Dennis, and Ekanathapai. And you probably had one other person in your group that's since had to leave.
Yeah. We talked, as everyone has, about what our various faith traditions say about nuclear war, and even beyond that, just war in general. We definitely have to grow our own communities to be able to speak up against war, and the more that we do that, the more that any thought of destruction and so on will be overcome by thoughts of love and peace. And the Baha'i faith particularly is very involved in trying to have not so much of a top-down religion and a top-down structure, but rather a grassroots. And with that structure, we in the grassroots can build more on faith and love and unity. And so one of the things that struck us about the reading was, well, as Sharon had mentioned in regard to the Orthodox bishop, we had seen that before, but again, it's just completely contrary to what we think is the Christian tradition. And then the other thing was in the letter was just the idea that essentially it's two people, it's Biden and it's Putin. And that is a very scary process. And so we have to work more and more to make sure that we have good leaders and to make sure that it doesn't come down to just a two-person issue. As far as
there should be a lot more people involved in decisions like that.
There you go, exactly. And then one of the things that we talked about is as to what we can do, trying to emphasize, more of the good that's going on. Everybody was saying, here we have all during the week we have on CNN and whatever program you listen to, you have talks about all the destruction that's going on, all the bad, and very little is put on there about the heroes. And so we tried to think of some of the heroes that we have, and basically one of the big ones was just everyone here and the work that we do, and the work that we do with the homeless, and there just has to be more and more of that. So that was our report.
We're well past our time, and we want to make sure that we hear from Rabbi Dan, who's giving us our closing faith reflection. And we want to definitely hear from him, especially after the march that we did in Danville a few weeks ago, after the flyers, the anti-Semitic flyers were distributed there. No, Celia, we don't have time for any other announcements. We're going to give our last 10 minutes to Rabbi Dan. Rabbi Dan.
Thank you, Will. Well, hold on. Here. Thank you, Will, and thank you for giving me this time. I just want to say that, we have an interfaith group here in the San Ramon Valley that's been in existence for nearly 30 years. It's called ISERV, Interfaith of the San Ramon Valley. And the first time we met following this distribution of anti-Semitic flyers in 4 or 5 different places around Danville, folks, all said, we have to do something. We have to respond. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And they said, let's, and within 10 days, we had a march and a rally, a gathering, and which was, it came together, banners were made, proclamations, we made a proclamation. The city of Danville, mayor joined us and read his proclamation. We walked through the center of Danville on a Saturday afternoon, and it was astonishing. the love, the way that we were able to transform hate and hurt on behalf of the Jewish community and others who felt the hurt, who felt the sting of this hate and how it created a toxicity that, and we transformed it into love and connection. And there were about 300 people gathered on no notice, say 10 days from first idea to the actual event. Will was there. We had 13 different faith communities represented. We marched through Danville. We ended up on this green in front of the Danville Library, and we had music of solidarity and love offered by a dear friend, Eve Decker, and the mayor spoke, and the vice mayor spoke, and our assembly, not assembly, our county supervisor spoke. Will spoke. A dear friend, Steve Harms, Pastor Steve Harms, some of you know, spoke, and I spoke, and it was all brief because and we sang some more, and the connection and love was profound. And these flyers appeared, according to CNN, appeared in 6 states around the country, and to my knowledge, and I watched it closely, there was no other reaction in any place but in Danville, of all places. And it was because of the interfaith connections and the quarter of a century of working together and supporting each other and standing up for one another that we were able to do this. And it was transformative in the true sense of transformative, transforming hate into love and connection. And everybody felt it. And it reverberated into all of our communities. It wasn't just that day. Everyone in our community, there were report backs and there were appreciations and there was gratitude. It spread throughout this valley. So I just wanted to share that with you. And if you have any questions, any responses, I'm still feeling its power and the way we can do this work on the ground, in public, with full voice, standing together was truly a deeply spiritual experience for all of us, I believe.
Thank you, Rabbi Dan. Any responses to what he shared?
Reverend Will, I was at the march, as you know, and I completely endorse what Rabbi Dan shared. It was a beautiful event, and I didn't have a sense as to how meaningful that was to your community, Rabbi Dan, until you shared this now. But that just really touches my heart deeply to hear how important and meaningful that was to your community.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, Laura.
I just want to say hallelujah.
Thank you, Laura.
The importance of interfaith.
Any other responses to Rabbi Dan?
I would like to make one.
Please do.
So basically, I just wanted to say, as the child of a Holocaust survivor, as someone born in the war in London, as someone who has experienced anti-Semitism all her life, even though my dad's Christian, I would like to say thank you to all the people of the interfaith community. But I also wanted to say that International Holocaust Day is coming up, and so is the celebration. I won't go anymore. And one other little thought. I, in no way in my heart, can compare in any way our president with Putin. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you. You'll notice that Yom HaShoah, the day that Celia was mentioning, is in our list of upcoming interfaith events on page 3 and 4. The Yom HaShoah is April 28th. And there are other holidays there as well. And if you have a chance to get into each other's holy spaces, to be with Bahá'is during Ridvan, or Sikhs during Baisakhi, or Christians during their holy days, or Ramadan, or Eid Mubarak, Pentecost, and Shavuot. There's lots of days coming up where you can be with each other. And thank you, Rabbi Dan, for being here and sharing.
Certainly. I just wanted to say, well, that our communal observance of Yom HaShoah, of Holocaust Remembrance Day, is April 27th at 7 o'clock at Temple Isaiah. And it's both in person and streaming. And we're going to have a report back from one of the leading Holocaust scholars alive today, Michael Berenbaum from Poland, who's in Poland, is going to appear live at the event. Should be something.
April 27th at 7 p.m. at Temple Isaiah. And when they do the Yom HaShoah events, it's a lot of the congregations in the Holies Bay are putting that on together. So when you hosted it at Beth Chaim, some of us were able to be there and celebrate with you or mark the day. And so this is another opportunity where it's in our backyard rather than a little further away. And thank you, Dan, for that invitation. And I'll try to be there at 7 p.m. that night.
Thank you for this time and blessings on this holy work.
It is holy work, and it's sometimes difficult work, and we continue to live within this tension as we live into these high holy days and days of liberation. May we all be liberated as we continue to live into our own faith traditions, challenged by each other, and able to live into these, especially these moments together as we try to address war and all of its implications. Have a great day, folks.
Tragedy, tragedy. Love to all.
Love to all. Yes. Blessed be.
Bye, everyone.